All right, so the draft is what, 3
weeks from tomorrow.
3 weeks from tomorrow. Is it 3? Not 4.
It's the 25th.
Yeah, right. You're right. 3 weeks from tomorrow. The Browns do not have a first-round pick again this year. When was the last time the Browns had a first-round pick? It's been
Greg Newsome.
Which was what year?
20.
What was it 4 years ago?
21.
3 years ago?
No, 20.
They haven't had a lot of first-round picks because obviously they've traded. This is the last of the 3 for Watson. They also traded 2 first-round picks for Odell Beckham.
Yeah, right.
So I think it was, 5 out of 6 years that they won't have a first-round pick, or 5 out of 7?
Yeah.
So finally, they'll, in theory at least, have a first-round pick in 2025. Their first pick this year is at 54. Mike, you're not used to it. And, but for years, as G, of course, and I know, we would be talking Browns draft basically from mid-November to the draft.
Daily.
I mean, that was the biggest conversation. And for the last few years, the draft has mostly been off the radar.
Which is a good thing, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
It means the Browns are competent and not near the top of the draft, which is a good thing.
For years, how many times did we hear the draft is the Browns Super Bowl?
And especially when we needed a quarterback.
Yes.
Those years were like, even when we tried to get him, we would be in contention for a quarterback literally every single year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, every year you were looking at a quarterback, and obviously that hasn't been the case the last bunch of years. But the draft has been off the radar, A, because the Browns have been better, and B, because they haven't had a lot of first-round picks of late, and that continues again this year. So it's hard to get too excited. You look at the mock drafts, and I like anybody else, will look at a mock draft, but the Browns don't pick till the 50s. So trying to figure out who the hell they're going to draft at 54 or whatever it is.
Field Yates put out his 2-round mock this morning and had them taking Trey Benson, the running back, the first running back off the board in the second round, which feels weird because they just signed Foreman as well, but also I don't think anything at this point would surprise me. And it kind of drives me.
It would not surprise me if they drafted a running back. I wouldn't think I'd be less surprised if they took other things, but let's face the reality. Nick Chubb's coming off injury. All the other guys can be gone after this year.
Yeah.
Every other running back on their roster, even Chubb in theory. But all their other guys, Jerome Ford's got 2 years left on his deal.
Last year was the second year,
right?
So 2 years left.
They didn't pay those other guys any significant money.
And they're one-year deals, Foreman and Hines.
Those guys, if they draft a running back and this guy's the next stud running back, okay, they may be cutting Foreman or whoever. I don't think Foreman's getting probably not any guaranteed money.
I'm just surprised. I'm not surprised by anything at this point because I think anything's on the table. And if I had to tell you right now, as of April 3rd, at 12:27 p.m., what I'm most confident the Browns will do, it's trade back.
I don't know why you'd be confident about that.
I'm not. I'm saying that's what I feel most confident in, but that's like a level 3 out of 10 confidence.
I don't know why they would do that. They don't, it's not a great draft in theory.
Oh, it's a great draft when it comes to certain positions.
Wide
receiver
and
offensive
why would you want to
liners.
trade down?
I wouldn't.
They should be trading up.
I think you.
Although I don't know if they can trade up. They don't have a lot of picks this year, and you don't want to give up your first rounder next year.
Well, they got some picks, and I don't look. If they come out of this draft with one person, I'd be fine with it. Package them 6 and 7s, they ain't gonna make the team. They're not gonna make
those
that
picks
roster.
aren't gonna move you up.
You can't package a 2, a 6, and a 7.
No. I'm thinking about getting up higher in the second round. That's where I'm.
I'm all for it. I'm not saying I want them to trade back.
I don't think there's any way they can get a first round pick without giving up a first round pick again in the future, and I just don't think they're gonna do that.
No. They're not going to. I'm with McNuggets. For me, I think I was talking about this on Ultimate Browns. I think now there's more of a chance for them either to trade up or trade down. I'm convinced they will do some sort of trade because the way this draft is going to fall, it's going to be interesting, and I like this draft because it always works out this way. If you got a really good deep position group, usually it's defensive linemen, there's usually a run on them because some guy that somebody has on the board is really excited about him.
And this year it's receiver, which is what the Browns need.
And then there's 5 or 6 quarterbacks that got either late first, early second.
Well, that's good for other teams.
And that's good for me, too. I love that.
Need a quarterback.
J.J. McCarthy, Penix, Bo Nix, all of them. I like that. So now that means some receivers are going to fall. Some
right, but they're not. The good ones are not falling to 54.
But there's enough good ones that 1 or 2 should be there at 54.
You could get you 3-4.
Yeah.
Even you look at Troy Franklin. Somebody just asked me. I like Xavier Legette out of South Carolina.
I like Franklin a lot.
I like Troy Franklin. I like McConkey.
He's gone. There's no way he's there at 54.
Hey, he just ran a 4.4 something. I like
Yeah, that's making his stock go up.
Right.
Ain't no way he's there. At
And
54.
I like Xavier Legette at that position.
I like him too.
And we ain't even talked about the two receivers, the two neighbors and
Harrison.
Thomas.
Brian Thomas.
Brian
he'll
Thomas.
be gone.
Yeah, but
These
those guys
dudes
going
are
early.
monsters. Then
Yeah.
you got Adonis Mitchell. Then you still got the other kid that ran a 4.2 or whatever his
Xavier
name
Worthy.
is. Xavier Worthy. We ain't even talked about Harrison. You
Yeah.
see how this worked? And
And you got Pearsall.
Pearsall and
But again,
Duzay.
will any of those guys
Pope.
get to 54?
Well, so just
Yeah.
if you look at
And
the
the
board,
further you go, if the Browns take the 9th wide receiver in the draft, well, it's less
But
and
it's-
less likely that guy's going to pan out.
well, just let's play the numbers
Yeah.
game real quick. You know there's going to be at least 4 quarterbacks in the first round. At
Yeah.
least 4. By 54, you assume Penix and Bo Nix go too.
Yeah.
So 6 of the first 54 picks are quarterbacks.
Right.
Doesn't affect the Browns board.
Yeah.
Of the names that G just mentioned, Harrison Jr. definitely gone.
Yep. Neighbors.
Both the
Neighbors
LSU guys
gone.
are gone.
Thomas gone. Adunze gone. Those 4 could all be top 15 picks.
Yeah.
There's
Mitchell,
probably
Worthy
another,
gone.
I agree. McConkey gone. We're at 8 now.
Yeah.
This receiver draft, and I've seen guys who I trust, like Dane Brugler in particular tweeted this out. He goes, the top 3, 4 through 16. If you want to have them in any order, I'm
Yeah.
kind of fine with that.
Right, but they're not all going to pan out.
But I'm just
No.
saying,
Yeah,
like
they're not all
it
going to
depends
pan
on
out.
it depends on
And
preference.
what makes me nervous is the Browns have no track record of
I hear
picking
all
the
that.
right guys.
But if you're telling me a guy like Dane Brugler, who studies this way more than any of us do, says between 4 and 16, it's a crapshoot. I like all these guys.
Yeah,
It's
well,
personal preference. I have
you
a
have
hard
faith the Browns are going to get it right?
I have a hard
In a
time
deep
believing
draft.
that won't have at least a shot at a guy who a lot of people like. That's not going to be an absurd reach at that
Keon
point.
Coleman.
Keon Coleman, another guy. yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
former basketball player, 6'4", about 220.
I actually like him a lot.
And think about it. They have him ranked the 45th best player.
I don't know.
Javon Baker's from UCF, 46th best player.
We were all excited about Cedric Tillman last year. We were all into it.
No.
No?
I didn't like Cedric Tillman. I
didn't like
wanted
him?
his boy.
He wanted
Jalen. I wanted Hyatt.
Who did nothing
he
too.
didn't
He didn't do
either.
anything, but I would trade him. I would trade that nothing for that nothing burger
Yeah.
any day.
The other nothing burger is faster
Yeah.
than hard
Right,
nothing burger.
Yeah, right. I like
It's
fast
just-
nothing burgers.
It's still just hard. You were just naming names. At this point, like, to have any good idea of who's going to be there at 54 is tough. Could the Browns? Yeah, I mean, in terms of trading up and down, sure. We're to the point now where from picks 20 and on, you see a ton of trades.
It's a
That
crapshoot,
happens
yeah.
every year.
I will-
So yeah, there's going to be teams moving all up and down the board, as
All
we've
the-
seen a lot in recent
all
years.
these kids, I'll take over David Bell or Cedric
Could a
Tillman.
dozen wide receivers be gone by 54? It's not
Yeah.
impossible.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
But,
And
but
offensive
in
line,
that
yeah.
in that instance, what Brugler said, if 12 are gone, you still have 4 guys who they can look at. Which once again,
Yeah.
you're going to say the track record sucks. I'm not
Yeah.
going to argue. I'm just saying guys who you like,
Yeah.
who are worth the value at that pick,
It's like
could be there when the Browns are on the
it's
clock.
like your FanDuel, right? You lose so much, and then you start to hit a little stride. You be like, man, I won these little money lines. Okay, I throw a 4-game parlay. Oh, I didn't want a little 100 little. But by the time you look, you done hit your stride a little bit, and you start to believe, like, look, DeJuan Jones was a lottery ticket. You scratched it off and you won. If you could hit on a guy like DeJuan Jones, actually, to be truthful, Nick Chubb was a lottery ticket. Nick Chubb was never considered the best running back in the league.
well, but
or
he's still like the
NCAA.
35th pick in the draft or whatever.
That
it
was a second-round pick,
Yeah.
comparatively where you took a guy, what was his name, out of Alabama?
Trent Richardson.
Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
Like you look at the two, Trent Richardson was more decorated. Trent Richardson was all that, and Trent Richardson was never hurt. But now you look back and be like, well, that second-round value, I'll take it. I think the Browns can find something there. I like this guy too, man. You talk about the overhyped white guys or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. Hey, this kid named Peyton Wilson from NC State.
People like the linebacker.
Oh man, this dude.
It's Logan Wilson's cousin or brother.
I don't
I have
know
no idea.
who it is, but this dude
he runs like a 4.35.
is nasty. He's nasty at back.
Well, in the end, the Browns are in a position where you want to be, where you don't have to draft for need. I always think I feel like when people do mock drafts, they try to figure out what the biggest need on the team is, and it just doesn't work that simply. Obviously, if you need a quarterback, teams often will reach for a quarterback, which I think is a mistake. But if you need a quarterback, that's going to change the way you draft. But if you're not looking for a quarterback, if we look at the Browns and we say, well, their biggest need is linebacker or wide receiver, whatever we decide personally it is, the bottom line is pretty much anybody the Browns are going to draft in the second round is not likely to be a starter for the Browns this year. You want to take the best football player. And even if he's not impactful as a rookie, maybe it's next year when you let somebody else walk or whatever it may be. I think drafting based on need, I think that's what stupid teams do.
Let me ask you this question then. What if Penix is still on the board at 54?
No, cannot. It would cause a riot.
Penix is on the board at 54.
Well, I don't know.
He didn't slid.
I will tell
They
you
already
this.
have 73 quarterbacks.
But
I will tell you this: if the Browns as an organization have decided that Michael Penix is the next great quarterback, then they absolutely should draft him at 54 and deal with the consequences from that. Because the reality is, let's face it, wherever you are on Deshaun Watson right now, if he has a bad season this year, they have to look for a quarterback the following season.
Yes.
No doubt. You're not going to hope he turns it around in year 4.
So what I'm thinking about, look, I'm just
now,
saying.
Again, in the end, he's not going to be there,
but
and I doubt they would draft a quarterback.
The Packers have done this like 3-4 times, and it looked like it worked.
Well, and
it looks like it works.
And they did it with quarterbacks that were way better than Deshaun Watson.
These Hall of Famers, coming off MVP seasons,
Yeah.
Jordan Love looks like.
But they were also both older quarterbacks too.
And the Packers, while it did work this season, they missed their entire window of a quarterback on a rookie contract. Like, they got lucky that all these second-round picks happened to hit and fill out their team because they had all this money to spend elsewhere while Jordan Love was on his rookie deal. It's his last year of his deal now. He's going to get paid.
And by the way, they weren't sure it was going to work because they didn't pick up his fifth-year option.
That's my point. So
would
it worked out. It was a risky move. It worked. But I don't know if
Is there anybody in the draft, talent-wise, at quarterback, would you say, if this guy fell to me, I just got to take it?
The top 3.
Yeah, but none of those guys.
They won't be at 4.
But the only reason I threw Penix out there is because I think
he could fall.
I think Penix.
But to the end of the second round,
I don't think that far, but I'm saying he can slide.
Yeah, he won't.
If anyone will be there at 54 of the guys we talk about,
please don't say J.J. McCarthy.
No, I think it'd be Bo Nix. McCarthy's going top 5. I'm telling you.
That's great.
I know he's going top 5.
I think the guy is a total stick.
I don't understand.
I don't see it. I'm not saying I would.
I'm
not saying I would. I'm just saying I think he will.
I think he's Mac Jones and Kenny Pickett, same caliber.
Or Daniel Jones.
I think he's more Daniel Jones than those two.
All right, because he's a good athlete.
But that doesn't make you any really better.
That's a step above.
You saw what that got you.
Daniel Jones is better is significant. Daniel Jones is at least an NFL starter.
Yeah, but you can't.
Those guys are not NFL starters.
You can't win anything significant if Daniel Jones is your quarterback.
No, I don't think so either.
So for me, there's a couple of positions where people say, well, what is most likely to happen? I don't think they'll draft the linebacker that high. I think that you could possibly see a receiver. I think you could possibly see an offensive tackle taken because it's a deep draft.
I think so.
And they got 2 tackles that you might want to look to get rid of Conklin after this next year. Jed Wills is on his 5th year. You may not have in him, so that's another guy.
Nothing would surprise me, G, except for quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback.
They could do anything else, and I wouldn't be. I know there's positions that seem more likely than others, but even if they drafted a corner or a running back or a defensive lineman, it wouldn't shock me. Well, come on.
That's
kicker.
By the way, so
they already got Cade York back.
That's so crazy. Project Stockpile is such a ringing endorsement.
Yeah.
Like if they draft a corner, that's definitely Stockpile.
Well, if they drafted corner, you can say goodbye to Greg Newsome next year. That's what that would say.
And that's what teams do sometimes.
Yeah,
when you're a good team, you make moves like that, thinking ahead, hey, we're letting this safety, we're letting this corner. The Browns get, as deep and as much as we like the D-line, they got a lot of old guys on that D-line. So if they took an end that they thought was going to be a great player, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, look at the Chiefs they just traded LeJarius Sneed. They've drafted a cornerback. Right. And they've hit on cornerbacks year after year after year after year to allow them to make a move like that for LeJarius Sneed.